when you see patterns, you're able to kind of tell quite a bit of their story back to them before they even narrate it. But apart from that, again, I would say as a method of kind of improving the quality of the delivery service, right? When I started doing so many cases, one of the first questions that used to come, after narrating their story, one of the first questions that used to come was, like my husband's would be, what kind of cases can my wife file against me? And a lot of course, the wife will also say, what are my remedies against my husband? Now, I literally realized this. I am giving the same 1 hour script every single conversation. I'm giving it in the morning, in the afternoon, and the evening. And I'm going nuts. I feel like I'm living some sort of a yes, what is going on? And so what I did was, and especially this was around the pandemic time, April of 2020, that I said, let me just type this whole goddamn thing out. Right? And it took me about a 35-page small PDF, which I creatively titled 7 Things Men Should Know Before Getting Married in India. And now every single time a person says, I want to discuss my matrimonial case with you, I do 2 things, right? One is I send them this PDF and I say, please read this PDF in entirety. The moment we get on a call and I say, all right, so you know what your wife can do against you? They say yes. The wife says, I ask the wife, do you know what you can do against your husband? She says yes. So that's an incredible amount of work which is already taken care of.
Time saved and impression created.
Absolutely. And so I established myself as an authority in
You already
30
gave
seconds.
so much value to that person even before they got on a call with you. It's like a gift. That person got a gift from you.
And in fact, a lot of inspiration was taken from these beautiful looking brochures that LawSikho has made, and I've also gone through from time to time, right? I remember specifically, I think I wanted to read up something about some particular aspect of labor law. I Googled, and of course, one of the landing pages was LawSikho only, and this is about just a year or 2 ago. And such beautiful, incredibly beautiful looking. You want to go through every single word of those brochures. Some I think 30-page or 40-page primer on labor laws. Just fantastic. And that was kind of one of the inspirations for doing something like this, right? But moving on, another thing that I have started doing, which I've been doing for almost like I think a year or 2 now, which has helped quite a bit in terms of again gathering information better and also to a certain extent doing away with the requirement of the client to narrate their situation. So matrimonial matters. There are these 4 or 5 questions which are very, very important, and I literally have it as a shortcut in my keyboard on my phone. The moment they message me, I will send them the PDF, and second thing I will say is, all right, now for ease of strategy, I need you to answer these few questions in writing prior to the call so that I can have them for ready reference. And it's just very basic stuff in which the client can give at least the minimum information which I require, or when the client gives large amounts of data in that, I love it, because for a lawyer it is 10 times easier to read something, because again that's how we are trained, far more easier, rather than looking, and we can also kind of separate the grain from the chaff, right? Rather than listening to their hanji.
Also they are forced to clarify their thoughts.
Absolutely, and that makes perfect, that's not something that I was thinking of, right? But it does happen. So I ask them questions like, which year were you married? Which year did you part ways, right? Sometimes law of limitation also plays an angle, right? How much do you earn? How much does your spouse earn, right? Now, what kind of cases have already been filed? Which city do you live? Which city does your spouse live? Now, that also has a huge amount of impact, right? Another aspect is, if you have any children, how old? Custody, visitation, all of these aspects will be very, very relevant. Now, when I do these 2 steps, I am able to do away with almost, I would say, 80% of the requirement, right? Now, 20% of what I do now, and which I'm still kind of playing around with a little in terms of having these conversations with clients. So, take it with a pinch of salt. What I tell the client is, I need you to again go with what exactly do you want out of the situation right now, rather than telling me what happened. And another thing I always tell people, especially in matrimonial matters as well as criminal matters, is that I need you to first understand very, very clearly if you give me any facts or you want to show me evidence pertaining to the fact that you are not at fault, especially when it comes to matrimonial matters, it is just wasting our time. You say that my wife says blah, but I am not that blah, but instead this is what the truth is. All of those things have a very last minute relevance. We can get to preparing your offense. We can get to preparing your defense. But if we focus on how you are a good human being, it is just a large wastage of time. Instead, you should first focus on what is the cause of action that has transpired against you. Associates, when they come to me and they tell me their stories of how they are dealing with their own clients, they say this exact same thing. And when I have started practicing law, it is back then and perhaps even earlier that I remember every single advocate that I know saying, I hate matrimonial law because and for this precise reason that it is more of you have to become an emotional sponge more than an effective lawyer. But I personally feel what Ramanuj said, this is exactly the statement that I give them in the first 5 minutes of the conversation. If you get emotional, we can talk about our emotions, we can talk about how we feel, which of course, as again, it is important. What you have gone through is very, very important. What you feel about it is very important. But there are some things which you have gone through for which there can be nothing which can be done. There are some things which you have gone through for which the exact thing what has to be done, we can strategize and we can proceed to execute whatever needs to be done. What would you prefer? And the answer, of course, invariably is to focus on what are the things that can be worked upon, that can get a result. Because ultimately, and I say this, and again, I wonder if I'm right or wrong, I tell clients this, especially in matrimonial matters, I am not your therapist. I cannot, and because I'm not even trained to be a therapist, I am the worst person to come to and talk about relationships. So a lot of times they say, all right, so these people will come to us for a discussion, right? Things have not gone as bad as accusing each other or, like people have just left and, I say, I have no idea. Don't ask me what to say because this is more dunyadari. And what is a 31-year-old lawyer going to tell you about dunyadari, which you yourself, your 60-year-old father-in-law, a 55-year-old mother-in-law, this 40-year-old man who's a husband who's in front of me, or this 35 or 40-year-old woman who's in front of me. What do I know about dunyadari, which you guys don't know? Your situation, your facts and circumstances, your community, all of that, your equation with your spouse, they all are very, very, case-to-case basis.